The Israeli Prime Minister has departed for Washington, D.C., where he's set to meet with President Donald Trump on Wednesday. Benjamin Netanyahu said the top priority in the talks would be the ongoing negotiations with Iran as he presses for a tougher U.S. approach to Tehran's ballistic missile program. So far, Iran has rejected expanding the scope of its negotiations with Washington beyond the issue of its nuclear program. Well, earlier I spoke to Jerusalem correspondent Noga Tarnopolsky. I asked her what this trip is about exactly, and why is Netanyahu going so often to Washington?
Prime Minister Netanyahu, as we see on the screen now, made a big deal this morning, this noon, that he was leaving on his 7th trip to the White House since Donald Trump returned to office just a year ago. In fact, it's his 6th visit. It's almost a lightning visit for Netanyahu this time, just 2 days in D.C., and he has only the one meeting scheduled with President Trump. Netanyahu has gone to great lengths to impress upon the Israeli public that he is going to Washington to basically present a list of demands to the White House. What Israel wants in terms of the negotiations with Iran on its nuclear force and on its ballistic missiles, and also what it demands in terms of kind of new and developed conditions in order to proceed in Gaza. But the fact is that it seems unlikely. The White House is moving ahead with talks with Iran without paying much attention to Netanyahu. Again, as we just discussed, the White House's Gaza plan seemed to be proceeding without any much interest at all in Israel's position. We can, for example, remind our audience that just 2 days ago, we found out that those Gazans who have been allowed to enter back into the Gaza Strip are being stamped with State of Palestine stamps on their passport, despite Netanyahu's almost daily assurances that this would never happen. So the White House seems more or less to be benignly ignoring Netanyahu's demands. And in Israel, some people are wondering, including, for example, the Seventh Eye, an important media watchdog here, if the fact of the matter isn't that Netanyahu has a lot to escape from here in Israel, among other things, his own corruption trial that he won't be attending this week while he's in Washington, and over which, let's remember, he has multiple times asked Donald Trump to help him facilitate a pardon from Israel's president. So all of these things are pending, and we'll have to wait to see substantially what happens at the meeting tomorrow.
And meanwhile, Noga, a wave of protests has swept across Israel. Demonstrators are demanding urgent government action to address surging crime against Arab communities. Tell us more.
That's right. Prime Minister Netanyahu really does have quite a bit to flee from in Israel. Among other things, as we're seeing on the screen, really nationwide protest today that shut down universities, hospitals, that blocked both the highway entrance to Tel Aviv and the highway to Jerusalem. A massive protest that started already several weeks ago as a protest by Arab community leaders. Their communities have simply been abandoned by Israel police. Let's remember that the police is overseen by the Minister for National Security, a former anti-Arab terrorist who made his claim to fame by shouting death to the Arabs in the streets of Israel for many years. They have been abandoned. Crime is surging, but not only in Arab communities. Crimes, domestic crime in Israel is surging. Crimes against women and children are surging. And so what we're seeing right now today are unusual scenes of Arabs and Jews having come together outside the Israeli parliament, outside the Ministry of Defense in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, in the north of the country, demanding what they're calling the basic civil right of security in their